James Harden wants to be with the Clippers, but the Sixers are not obliging. Darvin Ham has heard enough of this crap from other coaches in the Western Conference, and nobody seems to be appreciative of the Dodgers draft. Can you blame them? Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So as many of you know, I work on the road a lot, which is why I created this channel, so I can keep in touch with my folks back in LA. I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma. What the camera does not show is that the manure where I am standing is now piled up, almost reaching the taint. Not quite reaching it, almost. So how do you stay happy when you're standing in that much manure? You talk LA sports. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Click the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And comment. Always good stuff to talk about when it's LA sports. So before we go through the news and notes, look at the scoreboard. There weren't any games yesterday involving LA teams. That's depressing. But today, Major League Baseball gets back in full swing. Pardon the cliche. The Dodgers are playing in New York against the Mets at 4. Julio Urias is 6-5 with a 4.76 ERA. Justin Verlander is 3-4 with a 3.60 ERA. Weep not for Justin Verlander. He goes home to Kate Upton. Now, regarding James Harden, multiple sports outlets, are reporting that James Harden's master plan is to come to play for the LA Clippers. And you could imagine how something like that would work. I mean, originally you're like, well, wait a second, you were a free agent. You could have signed with the Clippers. James Harden basically was trying to work out a broader deal to try to keep the money and play for a team he likes. And you could imagine, that's why he re-upped with Philly. And you could imagine how a trade like that could theoretically come about. The Clippers have a lot of players that make somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 to $10 million. You put a few of those guys together, send them to Philly, voila. Guess who's not on board? Philadelphia. Yeah. And because of that, James Harden is his people. He's not saying it, but his people are accusing the Sixers of working in bad faith, particularly Chief Executive Daryl Morey. I guess the idea was that they thought that Harden could have been a free agent, but the Clippers couldn't have given him as much. Had Harden resigned, which he did do, the idea was that, okay, I'll resign with you guys, but you've got to trade me, and at least if you trade for me, you get something back instead of nothing. Hence the accusations from Harden's people of bad faith. Here's the problem for James Harden. He doesn't have a lot of leverage. He doesn't. Except for making an ass of himself in public. Now, you can accuse James Harden of a lot of things. You can say he excels at being a ball hog. You'd be right. You could accuse him of not playing enough defense. You'd be right. But one thing that James Harden is exceptional at, aside from facial hair, is making an ass of himself when he doesn't get his way. Ask the people of Houston what James Harden is like when he doesn't get to go play for the team he wants for. Ask the Brooklyn Nets what James Harden is like when he doesn't get to play for the team that he plays for. For the record, Harden is locked in for one more year in the final year of his contract for $35 million. It is possible that Morey is eventually going to swing a trade to get Harden to the Clippers, and that he's simply trying to leverage the Clippers out of more assets. He did that with, say, Ben Simmons. And when he sent Ben Simmons off to Brooklyn, what did he get back? Instead of just a bunch of randos, he got James Harden. So he may be trying to pull the same stunt twice. Now, I don't know necessarily who to say is the bad guy in this. There seems to be a lot of bad people involved in this story, at least outside of the Clipper organization, wouldn't you say? But yeah, James Harden wants to be with the Clippers. It might be his 5th or 6th basketball team. He has caused some problems in some places that he's been. And Philadelphia is perfectly willing to cause problems for him, right along with him causing problems back. So this is kind of a quirky, ugly little story. But if you're a Clippers fan, if you're just looking at the scoring capability, James Harden wants to play for you. Darvin Ham has heard enough, and he let people know about it. The Lakers coach started with Denver coach Mike Malone, who, of course, winning a ring wasn't enough for that clown, right? No. He had to talk crap about the Lakers every single step of the way. Now he's referring to himself, allegedly, or people are referring to him as the Lakers' daddy. Ham's response, God bless his soul. That ain't over. God bless his soul. Yes, he did cuss, and he wasn't done cussing, because then he started talking about the Golden State Warriors coaching staff who were complaining nonstop about the refereeing during the Warriors-Lakers series, also in the playoffs. Quote, I don't with that. Yes, I am covering my mouth. He's cussing every step of the way. Ham explained it further. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. But nothing came easy for me in terms of my career when I was a player or coaching. Nothing came easy for me, and I want it that way. I'll be damned if I let someone try to manipulate the way we approach the game, unquote. Now, who wants to... When you hear that out of Darvin Ham, don't you want to put on a pair of brass knuckles and find where he's fighting and join his battle? That is the type of stuff you want to hear. That is probably why Darvin Ham got hired as Lakers coach in the first place. I've put in too much effort to hear you try to undercut all the work that we're doing. And oh, by the way, I'm a grown-ass man. You ain't my daddy. And if I hear that out of you again, I'm going to drop a cue ball in a sock and knock the living hell out of you. I appreciate that out of Darvin Ham. No wonder the Lakers love him so much. Now, having said that, it's also true that Denver lost a couple of players from last year and that the Lakers have gained a couple of players from last year. But having said all that, you got to prove it on the court. Denver still got the ring. So no, I do definitely appreciate the attitude, but the results will eventually have to come. And speaking of the results, what would you do with this roster if, in fact, you are Darvin Ham? The Lakers have added 6 players. They kept the 4 free agents that they wanted most. Now, The Athletic took the steps of creating a depth chart. The depth chart, for the most part, keeps the starting lineup intact, but from the second layer in the depth chart, it's all changed. It's all up in the air. But even that, with the Athletic's work, comes a caveat. Darvin Ham is only guaranteed 2 starting roles to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, I think common sense tells us all that Austin Reeves is the 3rd starter. I think we could all agree with that. Where the Athletic goes from there with the starting lineup, they believe incumbent D'Angelo Russell gets the nod at point guard over Gabriel Vincent, and Rui Hachimura is considered the starting small forward. So let's take down those other 2 positions for a moment, point guard and small forward. D'Angelo Russell will get pushed by Gabriel Vincent. It is possible that Gabriel Vincent could wind up out of training camp as the starting point guard. But the current plan, apparently, is to have Russell start to boost up his value, to potentially deal him later on, and then possibly give the gig to Vincent. Draft pick Jalen Hood-Schifino, if you've been watching Summer League, and I have, he needs work. He needs work. And as for Hachimura being the starting small forward, keep in mind, if you think about it, LA has a lot of people who would literally be interchangeable at small forward. LeBron James, Jared Vanderbilt, Taurean Prince. It all would depend on the matchup. So theoretically, 3 or 4 of the starting slots are taken. 3 of the 4, with Rui Hachimura getting we think you're primarily the starting small forward. Now, the scribe who wrote this Jovan Bua is becoming a believer in Max Christie. But the coach is supposedly a fan of Cam Reddish. We'll talk a little bit more about Christie in just a moment. Backup shooting guard to Reeves is also going to be a battle. The only players, again, that we can predict with certainty are the third layer of the depth chart. We have three starters that we know are getting the gig, and we also know who's at the end of the bench. The end of the bench right now are the draft picks, Hood Schifino and Maxwell Lewis. So let's get back to Christie just for a moment, because we've been talking a lot about Christie as being the star of the Summer League team, although MVP chance, that's a little weird. His performance in Summer League has been top-notch, 18.8 points per game, 5 1/3 rebounds per game. He's shooting over 60% from three-point range, for Pete's sakes. And by the way, he's gained muscle since last year. He's added 16 pounds. The thing is, with the Lakers, it's the difference between the public comments and the private comments. Publicly, GM Rob Pelinka says Christie is fighting for minutes, but Darvin Ham is not guaranteeing anything. Remember, the inside stuff that I've been telling you about the Lakers in the last couple of minutes is that Darvin Ham knows what he's going to get from Cam Reddish. Max Christie has to prove it. So there you go with the Lakers depth chart right now. MajorLeagueBaseball.com, MLB.com's John Morosi says the Dodgers have interest in Chicago White Sox right-handed pitcher Lucas Giolito. The talks are not advanced, and other teams, by the way, are interested. Now, Giolito's ERA is 3.45. He strikes out more than 25% of the batters he faces. Look, I'm giving you this not as a hot rumor. There are going to be so many names that are going to be bandied about with the Dodgers over the next couple of weeks. But when it comes to starting pitching, particularly solid quality starters, this is an issue for the Dodgers. All 5 of the opening day starting rotation for the LA Dodgers has spent time on the injured list so far this year. All 5 of them. Now, if you looked at the Dodgers draft and you were scratching your head, you're not alone. The Athletic didn't give them a grade for the draft. Instead, their draft guy said he was flabbergasted and pretty much ripped every pick. ESPN was not quite as harsh, but in reviewing every pick, they were more likely to use the words project. Good, but not great. Feels like a reserve. The Dodgers' developmental system is tremendous. It has a well-deserved reputation. But apparently this is asking them to do a lot. We have been looking for upside with UCLA basketball because in this bizarro world that we've been flung into, this multiverse that you would see from Marvel or even the latest Flash movie, where up is down, right is left, blue is chartreuse, whatever. USC now has the star power in hoops, and UCLA is allegedly on the outside looking in. I don't want to make it that stark, though, because there may be a nucleus there in terms of the team's defense. CBS analyst John Rothstein really likes freshman forward Devin Williams for his defense, a power forward. You put that guy at power forward, if he earns a starting role, alongside center Adam Bona, and damn, you have the nucleus for some terrific interior defense. Now, that doesn't mean that UCLA is going to be as strong as they were in years past, but it's a start. It's absolutely a start. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Tell me what you think about if James Harden will be with the Clippers next year. Talk to me about Darvin Ham or the Dodger draft. And if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here, wherever the hell I am. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quien Corta El Queso production. Take care.